Capitol, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves are at the door, twisting truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot soul, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA, we'll never back down. Patriots for freedom, wearing that crown.
Boy, have we got a special treat for you guys. Quick programming note before we jump into the content, because we have a ton of content to get through tonight. A ton. As a matter of fact, I don't know, Nom, if you agree with me, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all this. But we're going to start where I think is one of the most important topics of the night. What's going on with the Tyler Robinson Evidentiary Hearing, because it all ties back into everything that we've been talking about. More recently, we've been talking about this culture hegemony attack that we're seeing play out from the radical left, the black-pilled America First crowd. But before we get into that, just a quick programming note. You guys may remember, Nom and I mentioned on Monday that we are not going to be here on Friday. And instead of just canceling the show, we decided that we're going to turn the whole darn thing over from start to finish to the back office team. And they have got some really cool stuff planned for you guys. On Monday's show, we talked about the direction that we're getting ready to head over the next couple of months, laying out, I think, for you what will be a really strong case of the dangers that communism is planning to bring to this country. We've started to kind of allude to a little bit of that with the culture hegemony attacks that we're seeing. But they have helped us to develop a incredible framework for a series of about two and a half months worth of content that we're going to be working through. And to start that, the fellas, Jake and Gardy.
Don't give away,
I'm not,
what you're doing.
I won't. To start that, they've got some, let's call it foundational material to set the stage for where we're going. And honestly, outside of that, I don't really know what they're going to be doing. But you know it's going to be great because these guys are awesome. So you do not want to miss Friday's show. SK has been working her ass off over the last 2 weeks, supporting podcasters all over different channels. So she needs a break. And I'm heading down south.
One channel, really, but it's like an all-day, 8-hour-a-day job. I don't know how Gary does it. It's a lot.
I think it's all he does, if I'm not mistaken. He runs his business too. But
that's his job, yeah.
Yeah. So we try to fit this in on top of a already busy life. But so make sure you don't miss it Friday. I'm telling you, you want to be here Friday because they've got some cool stuff set up. But for tonight, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. The Candace Owens cult is just losing their ever-loving minds. They are literally crashing out right before your very eyes. It is glorious to watch. Donald Trump is. Did you guys know that the 4th of July is apparently not over? The fireworks show continues in Iran. So we got some cool stuff on that.
Bridge and power plant day.
It's bridge.
That bitch.
That's right. Bridge and power plant day over in Iran. And rightfully so. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I think we've got some stuff on some of the affordability crisis that the communists have created and are trying to exacerbate to make it worse. And then they're going to try to run on the solutions, which will only make it even worse. I used some analysis techniques that I've developed over the years to put together some really cool graphics that we're going to show you guys. So you understand what exactly is causing. I mean, and I'm telling you, when you see this, you're going to understand exactly what's causing the affordability crisis that we're dealing with. But Nom, I'm going to hand it over to you because I think you got the first couple segments. So run with it.
Well, let's see. But before we do, guys, I don't know if you saw SK's comments down there in the comments, especially those of you over on Rumble, because it applies to you too. Make sure you leave your DNA all over that like button. If you're in the chat, go back, go out, hit the heart button, hit the like, and come back in. All of those things. And by the way, I'm pretty certain that she did not use the word DNA on accident, because
But wait, I thought Tyler Robinson wasn't even there.
Hold on. Well, no. First of all, we were told by Candyland Cult and the Queen Candace cultist of them all that it was the Jews. So listen, I'm not an attorney. PatriotDad, are you an attorney?
I am not, but I have watched Suits all the way through probably 3 times, and I love law-related shows.
I have watched a lot of Law and Order shows, even a lot of the SVU shows. SK, are you an attorney? Even though you read indictments and court papers and filings, like, I don't know, like my wife reads the classics. Are you an attorney?
I mean, no, I'm definitely not an attorney. I've never taken any law school. I've done none of that. I never even took debate, believe it or not, which is crazy because I love it. But I did watch a lot of court TV when I was pregnant with my kids, and I read documents. So, I mean, I'm basically an expert, right?
You're basically. I mean,
Basically.
you did stay at a Hilton Express. Well, listen, none of us are attorneys, but based on what I've seen come out of this preliminary hearing, and folks, people need to understand this, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that are very, very, very confused about what's going on. I'm certain of that because they almost never understand how the law works, ever. What we are watching play out right now is a preliminary hearing, a probable cause hearing to determine whether there's enough evidence in the hands of the state to continue forward with a full trial, right? So basically, the prosecutors in the state is putting out a portion of what they have that they believe is enough probable cause for the judge to say, yep, we've got enough, let's go forward. And I mean, what I've seen so far is insane amount of probable cause, even though a lot of leftists out there, and I do mean leftists, because let's be honest about what we're watching. And all this stuff ties back. It all ties together. Nearly everybody you see out there from Candace on down are leftists. The horseshoe effect is real, okay? They have met over there on the other side. It is so bad that we've got accounts out there that are literally creating the Obama-style Stand with Candace posters.
This is straight up cult behavior. This is straight up cult. I mean, this woman is not an elected official. She is not somebody who represents vast swaths of people, and she's none of those things. And yet they have literally put this woman on a pedestal as though she's like some vaulted god over them. It is not healthy. It is super scary. And the problem is she's doing it on purpose. Like this, I was listening to the show that you were hosting earlier today, SK, and you guys were live streaming Gary on Will Chamberlain's and who's the other guy that was there?
Jeremy. It was Jeremy Boring's podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that they talked about is like Candace has an incredible gift for what she's doing. She is incredibly talented at convincing people of things that just aren't true. It's a gift. It's almost a demonically inspired gift. And when it's used for the means that she's using it for, it is going to destroy a lot of people, including her. And it's sad to watch, but it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, in the absence of information, because we all know that trials, prosecutions, indictments, they necessarily take a long time. And in the absence of immediate information, which is what we require information 10 seconds after something happens. And if we don't have it, we've got a lot of people who it certainly appears to me have been tasked with inventing it. So I'm going to ask a question, and after we're done with this, let's see if we have an answer. has Candace Owens, and listen, I'm just asking questions, Candace, has Candace Owens been working on behalf of the defense for Tyler Robinson this entire time? And what I mean by that, actually, has she been working on behalf of the radical left Transifa assassination squads that are fully engaged in the attack on the hegemony? We had a debate over how to pronounce that. It's actually hegemony. Has she been working on behalf of the hegemony attack artists this entire time?
SK, Nom, do you guys remember? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just let me wrap this up real quick. Because we know that in these pre-trial hearings that we're watching, it's an evidentiary hearing. The defense doesn't put anything out there. Prosecution is going to get discovery on what the defense's case is going to be, but the defense doesn't have to put anything out there. I'm willing to bet, I don't know, a week's salary that we're going to watch most of the defense's case comes directly from Candace Owens, at least in an attempt to nullify the jury or plant reasonable doubt.
I don't know about that, because I mean, unless she's like trying to play some distractionary tactics here, because we have actually a video, and I don't know if you saw it in here, but we have a video that we can pull up a little bit later and show you, where she is lamenting the fact that nobody on the defense even bothers to reach out to her. Like, they're not interested in what she has to say. She's not. They don't have to. She's not. Well, that's true.
She has a whole log of all of the people wearing maroon shirts. You guys, that's not Tyler Robinson at the Washington County Sheriff's Office in that video. Because remember, they've been telling you he wasn't in custody. He wasn't, he couldn't have sent any of these messages because, he was in custody way before they said he was, and blah, 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 blah. And then they show video in court today where he's literally in the sheriff's office in the interrogation room with his phone, putting it in his pocket. And she's like, oh, that's not really him. There were so many people wearing maroon shirts. And, I literally was just waiting for the Jewish hologram, invisible rays from the Jewish space lasers. I mean, this stuff is absolutely wild, and people are believing it, and I don't know how or why.
It's cult mentality. What you're watching is a narcissistic cult leader's defense mechanism, where I've told you this entire bill of goods, and I've sold you, you've bought into it. You've bought into it completely, 100%. But every piece of evidence that is actually being presented actually destroys it. That don't look at the evidence. It's them. They're the ones that are attacking us. They're the liars. It has nothing to do with the fact that everything I told you is completely refuted with actual evidence, like actual evidence. Don't look at that. That doesn't matter, because, well, that's not real. That's AI. That's all fake. That's a patsy. That's what she's been doing this entire time.
But it's worse than that, I feel, because even now she's making posts. I think she made one yesterday that's like, the government wants us to not believe what's right in front of our eyes, while she's literally telling people to not believe what's right in front of their eyes. She is doing projection and gaslighting on an expert level right now. And how people are not seeing this, I don't even know. She was going at Jeremy Boring. She was going at Ben Shapiro, and she's pointing the finger at them and saying all of these things about them. Meanwhile, everything she's saying about them can literally be applied to her.
That's right. That's right. I think, Tora, I think you hit the nail on the head. So Nam asked the question, and I saw a couple people in the comments also respond to this. Nam asked the question, is Candace Owens working on behalf of the radical leftist? And let's be honest, some people who would tell you that they're on the right. We've had some affectionate names for them, these black pillars, these losertarians, the fake ass people, the FAGAs. We know who they are. Is Candace working on behalf of them, or is she working on behalf of the defense? I'm not at all convinced that she's working on behalf of the defense at all. I do think right now she has found herself in a position where the only possible way she makes it out of this disaster with her reputation intact, with a future in broadcasting intact, is if she figures out a way to taint the jury pool through jury nullification. But there ain't no way in hell these defense attorneys want anything to do with her, because the stuff that she has been alleging, the conspiracy theories that she has been building, it's almost like the prosecution has been listening to her show, and they've been building the evidentiary hearing case specifically to refute her. Because you'll notice that she's going after really she is going after the evidence necessary to even prosecute this guy. And they've said they've knocked those down one after another, after another, after another. Now, you're going to have to play here in a minute once I think SK's got something to say, but I think you need to play the Every Step Robinson video that we have here in a minute, because when you guys hear the amount of evidence that has been presented so far, it's going to blow your mind, and they're not done yet.
But you guys, they're taking this evidence and they're twisting it, or they are trying to say that it's not real, it's made up, you know, this official narrative, you know, whatever. The government wants you to believe this. The government lies all the time, whatever. They're even taking the DNA expert who said that, you know, there was a mixture of Lance and Tyler's DNA on the towel. Okay, Pasto. Behave. On the towel and on the screwdriver. And they're trying to flip the percentages and make it out like it's more Lance than it was Tyler. And that is not true. And they're completely ignoring, on top of the fact that an expert testified on the DNA testing and all the alleles, and we all got to learn all about DNA, but they're completely ignoring the common sense aspect of, if you have two people living in the same home, there is going to be DNA from both of those people on items. A screwdriver was used by both of these people in the home. We saw the Turkey Tom videos with what their house looked like, the photos inside their house when they would have all the electronic stuff out with screwdrivers and everything else, wires, all that crap everywhere when they were in their whatever manic, whatever, making their nest thing. They're both touching that screwdriver. So, of course, both of their DNA is going to be on it. They're both using the same towel. I don't want to know, but if they're both using the same towel,
SK, they were lovers.
There's going to be DNA from both people on the towel.
I've got this video if you guys want to play it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got the DNA video.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that. So just to set this up, this is the prosecution presenting part of their evidence that says, not only do we have Tyler Robinson's DNA on these items, we also found Lance Twigs' DNA on those items, which they believe should prove that this is Tyler Robinson's towel. It's coming from their house. It's a cohabited space. Let's listen to it.
Will you please read the result there from the title item 7 until the word contributors?
Overview of it, not going line by line, page by page. So if it is brief, I'll allow that.
Thank you. So if you'll read item 7.1 to the word contributors at the top of that page, if you will.
Yes. Male DNA was obtained from item 7 sub 1. Item 7 sub 1 was interpreted as originating from two individuals, one of whom is Twigs. The DNA results from item 7 sub 1 and are 1.7 octillion times more likely if Twigs and T. Robinson are contributors than if Twigs and an unknown, unrelated person are contributors.
Thank you. Let's skip down to item 8.1. Do you see that bolded and underlined line there?
Yes.
And this is relating to swabs of the handle area of the screwdriver. Is that right?
Yes.
Will you read those same two paragraphs there? Male DNA ending with contributors.
Male DNA was obtained from item 8 sub 1. Item 8 sub 1 was interpreted as originating from two individuals, one of whom is Twigs. The DNA results from item 8 sub 1 are 30 quintillion times more likely if Twigs and T. Robinson are contributors than if Twigs and an unknown unrelated person are contributors.
Okay. So did any of you guys have any idea how big of a number a quintillion is? You're on mute, PatriotDad.
It's very big. I said it's very big. Very, very big.
It is. So I didn't actually look this up, but it just occurred to me. I believe it's a couple trillion, or is it like petatrillion? It may be maybe a million times bigger than a trillion. It may be a million times bigger than a trillion, maybe. I believe. So the odds that DNA could belong to somebody else besides Lance Twigs, because the indication there, right? The evidentiary purpose of that is to say, hey, this came from their house where they cohabited, and you've got these people. So here's a question, because there's another claim that Candace made just last week that said that Lance Twigs was never interviewed by the police. She made this claim last week. Do you think what are the odds that if you get that DNA evidence that the police are not going to go and interview Lance Twigs, even though we all know that she did? Let's listen to that real quick, and then I would like your guys' reaction to this claim, because we have the evidence that they did. Listen to this.
The person.
Why do you think that?
Because the police didn't even question him, which is bonkers. Yeah, Lance Twigs.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, because if I'm not mistaken, SK, you've watched more of this hearing than I have. Didn't we learn in this evidentiary hearing that, in fact, the authorities interviewed him not once, but twice? She's eating.
No, I'm chewing ice. Sorry, I'm really thirsty. The statement, I believe, was from the one that they're going to play in court tomorrow morning, I believe, is from April 20th. So it was after, but it says, on April 20th, 2026, in preparation for the preliminary hearing, Mr. Twigs gave a recorded statement under oath, and after an admonition that any false statement would be punishable by law and could be charged as obstruction of justice, Mr. Twigs was also given use immunity by the United States Attorney's Office and the Utah County Attorney's Office, meaning that his statements at the April 20th meeting could not be used against him. And this is from a court document. I think it's I don't remember the number on the docket, but this is from an actual court filing.
Yeah, that's a proffer session. So essentially, they interviewed Lance Twigs.
Or queen for a day in his case. I'm not really
queen
sure.
for a day. King. That's a proffer session. So they interviewed Lance Twigs a long time ago, and he was probably had probably committed some crimes as an accessory involved in this, and they are basically giving him immunity from prosecution from those crimes if he says under oath, if he basically testifies to everything that he knew. They interviewed him a long time ago. I know that because they're going to be introducing the interview that he gave. So how less is last week. How is Candace Owens going to go out there and say they never interviewed Lance Twigs?
So I don't want to bury the lead here, but I feel like it's important to let this segment continue to play out. I have an overarching theory, and it ties back to the theory of cultural hegemony and what they're looking to accomplish with this, which is really to destroy any confidence that remains in the American people in the justice system. And I'll explain why I think they're doing this. I think it is fundamental to their long-term agenda of implementing an authoritarian, totalitarian style government. You have to dismantle the thing that has carried the United States to the point where we are, which is a large belief that at least the judicial system is still somewhat fair. And you're starting to see this narrative play out in people in their comments. You're starting to see people just flat out tell you, yeah, but those videos weren't real. All the videos that they're showing you, that's AI. The DNA is all made up. They are basically priming you to get you to a point where by the time this trial happens, nothing that is presented in the trial can be given any credibility because it is all fake. That's what they're trying to accomplish.
I understand that, but that is so, listen, and I know that the internet is filled with 99% of morons who don't understand really anything about technology, like the fact that you can always digitally and technologically determine if a video is AI or if it's been manipulated. You can always do that. You can always determine if an image has been digitally altered or if it's AI. And these law enforcement and these expert witnesses will testify to the fact that yes, these are original videos and they may have been edited for completeness or for shortness or to condense them, but it's not AI. And the entire world, listen, we know most of Candace's engagement are bot accounts, like the one that I just showed you that said I stand with Candace or whatever. But there's still a lot of people out there in the social media that think that everything that they see is AI. No, and you're not going to get AI stuff in court. It's not going to make it past the experts. It's not going to make it past into evidence. It just won't.
The hegemony will tell you that it's not possible to submit it into a court of law. They need to destroy that reality for as many people as possible, because what they have coming, it's necessary for people to not have any faith whatsoever in a judicial system.
Okay. Well, fine, fair. We're gonna operate in the real world for the next, I don't know, few minutes, where there are like rules of evidence and things like that happen in actual trials, because we've watched some Suits and we've watched some Law and Order, so we understand these basic things. Like, for instance, an eyewitness statement like this one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Do both parties anticipate any issues concluding their case? Obviously, there's variables, cross-examination, and kind of the fog of war that happens in court proceedings, but any party anticipate issues concluding at or before Friday at 5 p.m.?
Not from the state, Judge. Just want to highlight one issue for the court, because it may be that the court wants to do some time management. The state is going to proffer a video 1102, a video recorded 1102. We have provided the state, I want to say about a day and a half ago, with proposed redactions, because we believe that portions of it are not admissible, even in a preliminary hearing. And the way we did that is we provided a transcript and then a redacted version of the transcript.
Okay. All right. So this is important, but we're going to talk about what they mean there, because I think there's also a lot of folks who don't get it. So what they're talking about is the statement from Lance Twigs that is going to be entered into evidence as probable cause to get into an actual trial. So there was a lot of folks out there, and SK, explain it, but you can explain it to us. There's a lot of folks out there that are very upset that the full 22-page transcript of this and the video is not going to be read or played out loud in this pretrial hearing tomorrow, and it will not be released publicly. Why is that, SK?
Right. Well, I just caught a few minutes of the end of the arguments and when the judge was making his ruling. But the defense was arguing that it was a violation of Tyler's constitutional rights in a preliminary hearing. And remember, in the state of Utah, there is no pleading by the defendant until the end of the preliminary hearing. So that's when the defendant decides if they're going to plead guilty or not guilty or whatever they're going to do. Yes. So you have to keep in mind, they're just presenting evidence to see if they have enough to go forward for a trial. And defense was arguing that there's Supreme Court precedents that you cannot present anything that is construed to be like a confession during the preliminary hearing. And the defense was saying that the prosecution was going to present Lance Twigs' statement as being a confession to Lance Twigs because of the things that he had said in the recorded statement. So the defense was asking for like 11 pages of this transcript because, with every video, there's a transcript. They had it, the transcript laid out, and they had what parts they wanted redacted. And they were arguing it was a violation of his constitutional rights to play this before they go to trial. And the judge ruled it would be played, but it would be redacted. And I do believe they're only playing the audio. And that's going to be first thing in the morning in the preliminary hearing.
So it's important to note, though, if I heard that right, SK, it's important to note that the judge is not excluding this from the trial. The judge is simply saying, we're going to redact the portions that the defense is asking us to redact for the purposes of this particular hearing.
For the preliminary hearing, that's it. This is just a preliminary hearing. It's just a probable, basically a probable cause hearing to say that they have enough evidence to go forward with the trial.
Yep. Yeah, and then that makes total sense to me, because then I don't know, which constitutional right it violates, but if Lance Twigs is basically making a statement that Tyler Robinson said these things to me, that could be construed as hearsay, right? At least in this pretrial hearing. But it's interesting.
They talked about that.
Yeah, it absolutely could. I mean, and that becomes indirect evidence. It's not direct evidence or circumstantial evidence, right? At that point, so they're introducing direct evidence as probable cause just to get to the next stage. It is interesting, though, that the Kirk family wants all of it to be released tomorrow, even though they lost this thing. And I understand why. So if we take a look at this from Andrew Colvett, this is a statement from the Kirk family. The Kirk family believes strongly that if the evidence is being admitted in the preliminary hearing, it should be made public for the world to see. No redactions. The court has tools at its disposal to make sure the defendant receives a fair trial. You'll use them if you find that you need to. That's it, Your Honor. To not be transparent here, to not be open, to not let the world see what happened will create doubt and distrust in the judicial system. I don't agree with that statement because the actual trial itself will be where that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I do. But again, I'm a constitutionalist, and we need to be sure the judge has to make sure that he is upholding Tyler's constitutional rights. Remember, this is a death penalty case. This isn't some small potatoes. This is the death penalty. He could end up getting sentenced to death. So they have to make sure that they uphold his constitutional rights, because also imagine what the Kirk family would go through if they go through all of this. This is just a preliminary hearing, and it's going to go till at least Friday. Yep. So if it's going this long, imagine how long the trial is going to be. They're going to have to go through all of this, do all these things. Then they're going to get a verdict. If he's found guilty and sentenced to death, but then it gets overturned on appeals, they're either going to have to go through all of this again, or he's going to have to get some kind of an offer to plead so that they don't have to go through it again. That would be terrible. So we need to make sure in the preliminary hearing that his constitutional rights are upheld, so there is no grounds for winning an appeal.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I think Mama Al hit the nail on the head. Appreciate the comment where she says they want it out now because of what's been happening. Exactly. We have competing interest here. We have Erica Kirk and her family, and largely TPUSA want all this information out because they are fighting a very different battle from a PR standpoint. The judge has an absolute responsibility, and let's be honest, so does the prosecution, has a responsibility to preserve Tyler Robinson's constitutional rights for the very purpose of ensuring that when you get a conviction, it actually stands. It has to stand.
Well, and just like we talk about free speech and fighting for free speech, even for people we disagree with, even for speech that we hate, we have to stand 10 toes down on free speech, even for people like Candace Owens who are saying things that we actually hate. That is constitutionally, that is the foundation of this country, and constitutional rights for a fair trial are essential for this country, because any of us could be accused of anything. If the Democrats take over and they start going after all of us like they're saying they're going to, we could be a target and be charged with something just because we're speaking out against the things that they're doing and saying things that they don't like. And we would want our constitutional rights to be upheld no matter what.
For sure.
We would.
For sure.
So, and I agree with PatriotDad completely that there are competing interests here. I mean, it's not just a matter of competing interests. Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA, it's an existential battle that they're fighting right now, frankly, because on a lot of these college campuses they're going to, they're being confronted with the Candyland cultists now, who are basically blaming Turning Point, saying the exact same nonsense, the exact same shit. I mean, look at this. Andy No posted this yesterday. This is a flyer that just went up. This is a Transifa assassin cult flyer that just went up in advance of a Turning Point USA event where Erica Kirk was meant to be. She's meant to arrive on July 24th. Kirk is coming to Kirkland. Erica Kirk must pay for crimes committed against the youth of the world with a sickle positioned to come down on her head. They are trying to get her killed. This goes back to the show, the segment we did on Monday, talking about the Network Contagion Research Institute and how Candace has created a permission structure for the assassination of Erica Kirk. And you're watching it right there in that image. The Transifa assassination cult has picked up the mantle and they're happy to do it. This is an existential fight for them.
Well, it is, and it goes back to what I've been saying, and I know you guys are like, well, I don't know if I want to talk about this yet, folks. Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk were the organization that was bringing American exceptionalism, Americanism, to an entirely new generation of up and coming voters. They were, and we said this literally the day of his assassination, when we were on our podcast. That is the first thing that this panel started arguing, was they needed him and his organization to be completely destroyed for the purpose of the future of their agenda. What you are watching, what you've been watching over the last 10 months, is a systematic continuation of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This time it is directed at the organization that Charlie Kirk ran. And Candace Owens, and by and large, several of her demon followers that are leading the cult, are driving the assassination plot of Turning Point USA. And I chose those words carefully because they are trying to assassinate the organization. And one thing that they're struggling with is, despite their best efforts, Erica Kirk has actually stepped into the CEO role of Turning Point USA, and it is still having a major effect, positive effect, on young up-and-coming voters. Yeah, I would not at all be surprised to find out that there is an attempt on her life, because she is the head of an organization that they still need to assassinate.
Her threat profile, if I was guessing, is somewhere below Donald Trump, Eric Trump, Don Jr. Trump, Erica Kirk. If I could bet money, JD Vance is probably right below Erica Kirk in the threat profile.
I totally agree.
Look at this. Look at this. This is one of the cult leaders, Carl K. Wuckert. The harder Turning Point goes after Candace Owens, the more obvious it becomes that she's right about everything. Stand with Candace. That was posted this morning.
After we spent 2 full days listening to evidence that has systematically debunked every narrative that she has set as pillars to her conspiracy theory. I hope we get to the video. Maybe it's time to do that. Nom, can you pull up the one on, what's it called? Did you take it down?
I just want to address, I think it was guarding the grid because it's already gone now, but people in the comments are talking about a plea deal. They're saying that they think, he'll take a plea deal to get death off the table, blah, blah, blah. And other people are saying, well, but the prosecution isn't offering a deal. The prosecution has to offer a deal. Yes, the prosecution has to offer a deal. But I do want everyone to remember that in the Idaho 4 case, Bryan Kohberger was not being offered any deals. There was no discussion of a deal. The victims' families did not want a deal. And right before they went to trial, Bryan Kohberger got a deal and took a deal, even though the parents did not want it at all whatsoever. They said no, they didn't want any part of it. The prosecution did it anyway. So you never know what's going to happen. And I think people just need to keep that in their mind. I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm just saying anything could happen before the trial starts. It could even happen in the middle of trial. Who knows?
Yeah, I think what's fascinating about this, and hopefully, Nam, you can get the one video up we were talking about earlier, if I can remember the name of it. It's Every Step Robinson. What's fascinating about this is one of the arguments I'm hearing in my comment section are people saying that, are now making the case that he was paid to do this. He's a patsy. And my response to them is simple. It's like, what moron would accept money for the death penalty? Like, what exactly would be the point of taking a bribe to assassinate somebody, knowing that you're going to get the death penalty for that? What would be the point of that?
Nobody will. All right, I've got the video.
Pull this up real quick. Let me set this up real quick. So this is a clip of, I think on Fox News, of one of the court watchers who is talking about some of the evidence that's been seen. And, you know, it just destroys everything Candace Owens has been saying, because we've been told for however long that he wasn't even on the campus.
Yeah, from Candace Owens herself said he was never on the campus.
Say it shows Robinson on campus at UVU 4 separate times, even though he wasn't a student there. And the consensus I've been seeing is that that video has been pretty damning for the defense. Your thoughts?
It has been. We were aware that video existed, and we had seen some surveillance video of the suspect leaving the rooftop, now who prosecutors believe is Tyler Robinson. But we didn't realize how much video they in fact had. The video that was revealed in court over the last couple of days is remarkable because it can track his steps nearly on a minute-by-minute basis. Yeah. Any argument that the defense may have had that somebody else could have been involved, I think, was really cut in half by this videotape, because they are able to, through different angles, track him nearly from the time he parks his vehicle to the time he makes it to the rooftop, the time that he runs off of that rooftop, and then they believe to disposing of the rifle in the wooded area behind the campus. So it was really powerful evidence.
What do you think of the job the prosecution has done so far? Again, this is like a 5-day mini trial.
I think we can stop it there. Did you guys catch that? He flat out said that they have video evidence that can track virtually every step that he took from the time that he showed up on campus.
And can we also point out that these people that follow Candace Owens and Candace Owens herself have posted this video of Tyler Robinson walking with the rifle down his pant leg, and she's posted a video with a screenshot where his leg is bent a little bit while he's walking, and a little bit of a clip where he bends his leg a little bit. And she's like, oh, look, see, there's no rifle down his pant leg because he bent his leg a little bit right there. And then you can go look at all of the people that throughout this whole entire time have made videos with a rifle down their pant leg, able to bend their leg. These people are actually insane. They are denying what is right in front of their face. They are doing all of the mental gymnastics that they can to try to say anything except the evidence that is right in front of their face, just like Candace Owens continuing to push this exploding microphone thing, going 10 toes down this entire time, even after evidence has been presented. They said in court the cause and manner of death, and they said it was a gunshot wound to the neck. She herself has posted the video of Charlie getting shot. She wrote those words today on X, and these people still just eat this up from her. She is lying. She can't even keep her lies straight. She's crashing out, and these people are still defending her. It is absolutely wild.
Well, yeah, so they are, but now, I mean, just to kind of build on the hegemony attack. Hegemony. I'm always the hegemony attack. Her biggest minions out there they're doing everything they can to pivot literally wherever they can. And we're going to show you in just a minute how the hegemony attacks, where they're really coming from. But take a look at this. So this comes from Kelly Rabin. I have to ask, was Don Jr. in the courtroom this week to send a message to Judge Graff? It's been near silence from the Trumps the last 10 months in this case, which is odd to me. Was this a not so subtle F around and find out to all involved? Meaning the cover up is on. No, Don Jr. was one of Charlie Kirk's closest friends. That's why he's in the courtroom. You absolute potato.
If it makes you feel any better, she blocked me a long time ago because she's a potato.
Did you guys see who else was in the courtroom? Well, I think she was in the
Yeah,
courtroom.
was it the
I know
Russian
she was
spy?
outside the court. Yeah, Liz Lane. Liz Lane showed up outside the courthouse today, and I'm pretty sure she got in.
Yeah, I'm sure she
I
did.
saw Rush Limbaugh's widow was actually, I can't remember her name, Catherine. Rush Limbaugh's widow, Catherine, was in the courtroom. I saw Jack Posobiec talk about that earlier.
Interesting.
But
Very
so,
cool.
I mean, listen, to build on the hegemony attacks, right? And Owen Shroyer is one of the absolute worst, right? Was Owen Shroyer ever actually a conservative? I don't know. I've heard this guy's name around for a while, but he's absolutely completely lost his mind.
Well, and it
So
shows
he's-
on his hair and his face
Oh,
and the way he
I've
looks
got a
now.
picture of that. It's coming up in just a minute.
Total
this is
meltdown.
this is my pivot into the next segment, right? Because this Owen Shroyer, innocent till proven guilty, burden of proof is on the state. Beyond a reasonable doubt, these things still mean something to me. Listen, that's all true. But this guy here has spent the last 9 months basically saying Tyler Robinson is a patsy. The government did this, or Israel Jewish space lasers did this. And now he knows he's caught. So now it's the government is going to cover this up.
Does Owen not realize, is he not smart enough? Owen, I know you listen to this show. Maybe not, but you should. Are you not smart enough to realize that this is not an actual trial? For you to put out on X that innocent until proven guilty, burden of proof is on the prosecution. Are you mistaken that this is the actual trial? Because it's not. You realize that this is just a probable cause evidentiary hearing, right? They're only going to provide as much information as they believe necessary to prove to the judge that the charges that they have filed against Tyler Robinson are supported by the evidence. Not that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, just that they locked up the right guy and they charged him appropriately. That's all they're doing. And I also think that there's an agenda strategy here of debunking the attacks on the case and on TPUSA and on Erica Kirk directly, because like I said earlier, a lot of the stuff that they're showing, they don't need to show this yet. They don't need to go into the DNA evidence yet. They don't need to do that. They could just show, we've got video evidence, we've got cameras, I mean, they could basically have wrapped this up in a day and a half if they want. I think they're going in with a mountain of evidence to try to tamper down some of the jury nullification efforts that Candace Owens is leading to try to salvage the case that is very clear and I think very easily to prove. They just have to get over this jury nullification effort that Candace has been waging against the trial.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's amazing. Pretty good analysis on this. So let's take a little pause here before we move off into the next segment, which is the same segment. We're just going to take a little break and let's acknowledge some super chats. And by the way, we have a new member who joined us,
Yes.
Patriot Boy Mom 4547. Thank you for joining. We
So
did
hold
have a
on,
super chat.
hold on. Is that Patriot Boy Mom or Patriot Boy Mom? Have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen that?
She's a boy mom and she's a patriot.
Okay. Have you guys seen that Instagram reel? My kids cannot stop playing it. It's that guy that's like doing like the hardcore screaming song where he's like, is it PetSmart? Is it a mart for pets? Or is it pets or smart? Is it Patriot Boy Mom or Patriot Boy Mom? Which is it?
It was a female photo. I'm assuming
No.
it's a boy mom and she's a patriot.
Got it. Okay.
Patriot boy mom. And then we had a super chat from the Fourth Strike. Well, you can't disprove the things that I say, so that means I'm correct. That's right. I mean up
Problem is
until
they are
now,
disproving
actually.
the things
Yeah,
you say.
They are disproving it. They're 100%
They're knocking them down one
disproving
by
it.
one.
And in fact, they're
Look,
disproving it
our
so
friend
hard that
Steven.
I think the prosecution is literally just showing off at this point. They're just showing off. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
Steven. Thank you,
Where's
Steven. Steven gifted 10 Patriot Source memberships.
More?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Steven
He
keeps doing
every
this.
day he's on
Amazing.
it, and he's on Paramount Tactical. He's all over the place supporting
Steve must be
everybody.
he
Thank
must be
you,
loaded.
Steven,
Steve's got some
for all of the
disposable
support.
income, and he's disposing of
Hey,
it the right
hey,
way.
Steven, I'm raising some capital for my startup. If you've got some disposable income, hit me up. Let's talk.
That's funny.
Getting ready to do. I'm raising a seed round. If you'd like to, just let's talk some shop. You got some disposable
Thank you,
capital.
Steven.
Thank you, Steven.
We
We love it.
appreciate
Appreciate
all
it.
of the support. You guys, I do want to take a second to recognize the chat and tell you guys thank you so much for all of the support everywhere. And like I said today on Paramount Tactical, the fact that you guys believe in me and believe in us up here, it means more than you will ever know. Hitting the thumbs up, sharing the links, watching our content, sharing our content everywhere, following us on X, doing all of those things. You guys are great, and it is very much appreciated. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys and your support. And the more you guys interact and share things and hit the thumbs up and do all the algorithm things, the more people are able to see our content, and we are able to grow. So thank
We're
you.
almost at 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so y'all need to help us get over that threshold.
Almost.
We're like right there. All right, go ahead.
All right, so the tax on the
Hegemony.
hegemony. I don't know why I can't say that. My entire life, I've thought it was hegemony. A tax on the hegemony.
You can call it hegemony. That's how the Brits pronounce it.
Call it hegemony. I'm going to call it hegemony. That's how the Brits pronounce it. Whatever. So that same guy that we just sort of ended that segment with, Owen Shroyer, because he is one of the principal, I don't know, is he like a field marshal or something? The attacks on the hegemony.
Yeah, he's like he's kind of like the court jester of the cult.
The court jester.
Yeah.
Wasn't he at InfoWars with Alex Jones and then he got fired or something? And oh wow, look, that's just in a couple months. It's only been a few months since he left InfoWars. That's crazy.
Hey, Nom,
this is what the candy cult does to you.
It does, but there's more. There's more, right? So, Nom, do you know that we have our 30-year high school reunion coming up soon?
Yeah.
This picture that we're looking at is kind of what happens when you show up to a high school reunion many years after you leave high school, and you show up to the reunion and you find out that all the really cool kids are now looking like Owen Shroyer many years down the road. This is a 30-year reunion picture of Owen Shroyer.
Are you saying that this is a picture of somebody that peaked in high school? Is that what
I'm
you're saying?
this is a picture of somebody who peaked long before they decided to join the cult. And the result of the cult is now he looks like a clown.
Yeah.
Is he going to start looking like Kathy Griffin?
I mean, he's halfway there already. I mean, this is ridiculous. But he's also very worried about Graham Platner dropping out of the race. He's got opinions as the hegemony attack jester out there. Platner to drop out of the Senate race after new sexual assault allegations. Do we really want this to keep happening as a country? Sexual accusations controlling election outcomes. That's not actually what happened here.
I mean, I got to be honest. I kind of agree with him.
Well, yeah, except this is a very different situation with Graham Platner, because the entire Democrat Party knew about this. The New York Times interviewed, I don't know if you guys know this or not. So when Politico broke this story later of the latest rape allegation, the New York Times actually did a story on it, but they basically whitewashed it and said, nah, there's nothing here.
Yep.
So listen, nothing comes out of the New York Times that doesn't get read in the offices of Liz Warren, Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, all of them. They knew that was out there. They knew it when they all went out there and they said, this is our guy. He's got the morals. He's got the right ideology. He's exactly what we need. Liz Warren said, this is the kind of man we need right here.
Well, have you met her husband?
Yeah, well, yes, but this is the kind of man we need. And now, just because the allegations came up again, and it seems like they're actually very true, but what's actually happening, as we talked about before, This isn't about the rape allegation. It has nothing to do with the rape allegation. The problem is his poll numbers in the state of Maine, because voters are actually now getting access to this information because it was hidden from them by the Democrat Party. They thought they could get away with it, and they're not getting away with it. So now they're trying to dump him, just like they did. We talked about PatriotDad. You did a great segment on this. They're doing exactly what they did with Joe Biden.
They Bidened him.
They Bidened him. They want to hand pick his replacement. And by the way, Democrat voters, his replacement is going to be an Obama stooge, Susan Rice. So your communist just got posed by an Obama stooge, Susan Rice, who may be a communist, but she's not going to do any of the shit you want to do.
Are we sure that Susan Rice is going to be the replacement? I heard this yesterday. Like, I've heard people talk about it, and I'm like, wait, there's no way they're going to use Susan Rice. You guys do understand that Susan Rice was the domestic policy advisor for the Biden administration, and SPLC was literally handing policy to Susan Rice, who was then implementing said policy. This is where a lot of the censorship stuff came from. You remember we've talked a ton about the United We Stand Summit. All of these things, you need to go back and watch these podcasts, go look at our X accounts and read all the things about Susan Rice, the United We Stand Summit, SPLC. You know, SPLC has that lawsuit against them, and I'm sure that there's possibly, potentially, probably, maybe some criminal charges down the line for some people involved with SPLC, and they were directly involved with the Biden administration and implementation of domestic policy via people like Susan Rice.
SK, you are giving Democrat voters far too much credit. Do you think that any of the people that are going to vote in a Democrat primary or will show up to vote in a Maine general election for Susan Rice, A, even knows any of that, or B, cares at all? Because they don't.
They voted for Graham Platner like 78% to like 12.
But
okay,
this is what I don't understand. I don't understand why the Democrat Party is so willing to put people like Graham Platner up against someone like Susan Collins, or risking putting Susan Rice up against Susan Collins, because Susan Collins is the opposite of a conservative. She votes with conservatives like 50% of the time. It's a toss-up. Why are you going to go after a seat like that when you can go after other seats in other places? It makes no sense to me. The strategy behind this, it makes no sense.
SK, it makes perfect sense when you consider that they have hitched their wagon to the Transifa assassination cult. They have hitched their wagon to all of these socialists, until while they're getting eaten alive by the people that they thought could buy them power. We're talking about the power brokers at the top of the Democrat Party. They are happy to promote a Graham Platner with everything they know about him, Nazi tattoo, Totenkopf, all of that stuff. They're happy to promote it as long as they think he can get 51% of the vote in a general election, period. As soon as it looks like he can only get 49%, they're the ones who are going to re-release all of the negative intel, all of the negative Oppo research to get him out so that they can hand select. They hand select Hillary Clinton. They hand selected Joe Biden. They're hand selecting Susan Rice, or whoever it's going to be. It's going to be Susan Rice, because they believe she can actually get more of a percentage of the vote now than Graham Platner. It's all about power.
I actually think, SK, sorry to interrupt, but I actually think that there's something a little bit different going on here. I think you are watching the power struggle and the Democrat Party establishment versus the Democrat socialist, the communists, who are mounting a very effective takeover of that party. I think you're watching it play out in this race. You had a very, not the right word. You had a very attractive candidate to the radical base in Maine. Graham Platner is exactly the type of person the communists and the Democrat socialists want in office. They don't care that he's a creep. They don't care that he treats women horribly. He's a communist, and he's going to do communist things. The problem that the Obama wing of the Democrat Party have is that they've now recognized that there is a massive amount of momentum on the radical wing taking over the entire party. I guarantee you, we are going to find out 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 3 months from now, that the people that were behind the effort to Biden Graham Platner was in fact the Obama wing who's trying to hold on to that party. Because here's what happens. Here's what happens. If you send an actual communist to the Senate, he's going to take over that entire Senate party. The entire caucus is going to be run by someone like Graham Platner. The entire caucus. Instead, they think they can put Susan Rice in place, still have their Obama, tentacles into the Senate and control the old rules order, the rules-based order of how the Senate's supposed to operate. Make no mistake, Graham Platner was taken out by a dying Obama wing of the Democrat Party that's still trying to have some relevancy in the party.
I understand, but the only reason he is actually being forced to be removed right now, the only reason is because of his poll numbers. That's it. That's it. If his poll numbers weren't tanking, there's no doubt in my mind that they released this information to tank his numbers. But if they weren't tanking and he was holding strong, they wouldn't be calling for him to leave the race. Have you guys seen, SK, do you have more you want on this topic before? Because there's a Maine Democrat Party person I want to show a video of. But go ahead, SK.
Yeah, I just want to point out to anyone that might still be a Democrat. I don't know why you're listening here unless you're trying to learn, and then welcome. But I don't understand how you can support a party. I talked about this during, Biden having to step down and being replaced by Kamala. The primary already took place. The voters spoke. Why do you continue supporting a party that doesn't even care about you and your vote? Meanwhile, these people are grandstanding and suing all of these states across the country and trying to leave all of the elections open, not safeguard them in any way. They want to do anything and everything that they can to subvert voters and their vote. Meanwhile, in the same breath, they're saying that they are, trying to not disenfranchise a single voter. The people of Maine are getting screwed because they voted in a primary for the person that they wanted to represent them. And then the Democrat Party is going to come behind and say, yeah, well, you guys didn't do very good here, so we're going to put this person in their place, just like they did with Biden. The Democrat Party does not care about you as a voter. They don't care about what you want. They do not care about your voice, and they do not care about you being represented. And taxation without representation is theft.
SK, real quick, let me just add this point. We need to see if we can find the clip of it, because apparently there is a clip of Rush Limbaugh back in 2020 following the election, right before he passed away, in which he was making the argument that Democrats no longer have any purpose for elections. They don't think they need them. As a matter of fact, they are entirely contrary to where they're taking their party, which is going to be run by a ruling committee of elites, not by the unwashed, whether they be Democrats or Republicans. They have no use for elections whatsoever. So what you're seeing play out is over time, an effort to condition their voters that it doesn't really matter what you want. We're going to do what we want, and you're going to have to be okay with it. And shockingly, out of the gate, they are okay with it, because when they Bidened Joe Biden and replaced him with the worst candidate probably in American political history, not a single peep out of any voter in that party about what they just did. Not one. Now, if you want to look at Eric Swalwell, at least they took him out before the primary. They waited until this guy was nominated and made a decision that we are going to see if we can manage him until the point at which his numbers fell below water. Because Maine voters, independents, what small Republicans are out there, they already knew this information before the primary ever happened. They knew all of it, because the New York Times article that actually exposed the sexual assault was written before the primary.
No, it is. You're right. And listen to this comment that I've got here up on the screen from Redwater, where he says,
what the hell is a people tax?
Hold on. Every Republican admin lowered corporate tax and raised people tax.
What's a
So
people
Redwater is what we call one of those smooth brain communists that when you actually talk to them, like, did you guys see that? Who's that dude who does the financial audits? Caleb. Oh God, you guys didn't see this? This guy all over TikTok who does these financial audits, and he's always has these like blue hair people, and they're always broken.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about.
Caleb Hammer. Yep. Caleb Hammer. He had this blue hair chick on his latest one, and just eviscerated.
Yep.
She's like, I'm a socialist, and all these. Just spent an hour like tearing all of her blue hair out at the roots. She didn't know anything. She knew absolutely nothing about economics, no facts at all, none of them. But she's a communist and she's a socialist, which is why she's a communist, which is why she's a socialist. Just like Redwater here. Every Republican admin has lowered the corporate tax and raised the personal tax, is what I assume he's saying here, which is just a lie. You know, you can look up these tax brackets from Trump's 2016 tax bill. You can look them up. Every single tax bracket, the lowest one, the one above it, the third one, the fourth one, all got a tax increase.
No, hold on. That's not true. The fourth one didn't.
The fourth one didn't. The fourth one stayed flat, and then the top two tax brackets went up. So the richest taxpayers in our country got a tax increase, while everybody else got a tax decrease. And then Redwater here, you can look this stuff up, dude.
Stick around. IRS, we've got an economics segment coming up later in the show that he's going to want to stick around for.
The IRS literally publishes this information. Then he goes on to say, if you lower corporate tax, you raise the length of corporate yachts. I'm sorry, that's just one of the smooth brain dumbest comments I have ever actually read. Because it turns out, by the way, that when you lower corporate taxes, you increase tax receipts to the federal government. It happens every time. We are currently bringing in more tax revenue than we ever have in human history into this country as a result of the lower tax bracket. Now, for corporate rate, you can't lower it too low, but you can't raise it too high, because those corporations see money is like water. It finds the path of least resistance. It will leave. And if it can't leave, it will fire people. And then you will reduce the tax base of your employers or of your employees, because there are less people with jobs. Unemployment goes up. This is just the dumbest. It's been disproven so many times. There is no data that Redwater can show to prove to anybody that that's true. None whatsoever.
Well, hey, here's the funny thing is Redwater is so disconnected from reality of what actually happens in the world that these people don't even realize that when you raise corporate income taxes, all you're doing is raising taxes on yourself. Because here's a question for you, Redwater, before we end up just blocking you because now you're just being ridiculous and being an asshole. I just have a simple question for you. Who do you think pays corporate income taxes? Who do you think pays it? Folks in the chat, I know you guys know this because we talk about this a lot. Who pays corporate income taxes? You do.
Hold on. You know what? Screw this guy. You could run around calling people fucking Jew boys. You're out.
I think he's already out. I think the fellas got rid of him. I think so.
No, we're done with him. You can keep going with your economics thing, but we're not doing that racist shit. I'm not Jewish, but that's racist. You fucking asshole. Get out.
That's right. K Posto, you're right. You pay it. Where did SK go? Is she coming back?
She's having internet issues.
Oh, I see.
Second time.
You pay taxes on behalf of the corporation that you buy stuff from. Because I don't know if you've ever seen how prices are defined or determined. The price of a product, a portion of the input of that math equation, is the taxes that the company has to pay to the federal government. You, as the consumer, are paying the corporate taxes. It's not coming out of the CEO's pocket. It's not. You're paying it. You are. So when you raise corporate income taxes, you're raising your own taxes.
Well, I mean, listen, these people are dumb. I've got a video, and they're dumb everywhere. They're dumb all over the world.
We can
right?
get her back.
I'm good. I'm not going to play that main
Yeah, you don't need to.
political
because he's already out of
Yeah.
the campaign. So
Yeah.
in case you guys didn't know it, he got Biden. He decided to step away from the campaign. He was holding out, hoping that he would have an impact on who the replacement nominee is going to be. Of course, the Maine Democrat Party, which is probably still beholden at least a little bit to the Obama wing of the Democrat Party, was like, no, we're going to put who we want in there. Because again, this is the battlefield of the internal struggle between the radical communists and the establishment Obama wing of the Democrat Party. And right now, it looks like the Obama wing is going to take over the candidate seat for the Democrat primary in Maine.
Let me play that. Let me play this real quick, just so everybody
I wanted to
can
provide
hear
you
it.
all an update
How they're
on the U.S. Senate
selling
race
this.
here in Maine.
Okay.
As you know, the Maine Democratic Party has been working around the clock to develop a process to replace our U.S. Senate nominee that is open, inclusive, transparent, and fair. The integrity of this process is just as important as the outcome, and we are committed to ensuring that Democrats across our state can have confidence in both. Unfortunately, Graham Platner's team has repeatedly reached out to us in an attempt to put their thumb on the scale of what this process looks like. We have repeatedly reiterated to Graham Platner's team that they have no role in determining our next Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate, nor in determining what this process looks like. We have also reiterated that Graham Platner must drop out of this race so that Democrats in Maine can focus on defeating Susan Collins this November. We look forward to making this process public as soon as Graham Platner formally withdraws from this race.
Yeah, right. Like they're actually going to make this a transparent public process. My ass. They're going to put in whoever the hell Obama tells them to put in. Is probably going to be Susan Rice or someone like that. Welcome back, SK.
Yeah, welcome back. But their voters are dumb, and they're not just dumb here in the United States, because
you're going to play the Aussie girl.
We could listen. You could put an American accent on this person at Harvard, at Yale, at Stanford, at NYU, and you'd get the exact same result. Listen to this.
Because it's solidarity just in general.
Do Gazans have solidarity with trans people?
Yeah, usually.
Have you ever seen what they do to trans people in Gaza?
I think that's what the IDF does to trans people. I think also that it is not.
How many gay pride parades have there been in Gaza?
Well, I mean, how many people have been killed in Gaza? They can't do pride parades at the moment because the whole place is decimated.
Before 2023, how many gay pride parades have there been? How many trans people have lived to tell their story in Gaza before 2023?
We can't say that because the IDF for now 100 years have been completely decimating it.
Hold up, 100 years. What year did that start?
That started when they started settlement as Israel into Palestine. They started
100 years ago.
100 years ago when they started coming over there. Like it
started coming over there. They've been there for thousands of years.
100 years ago. The IDF has not been there for 100 years.
And isn't like 1940 something
1947
when Israel was even created? The white papers, like
100 years.
What?
Yeah,
Are these people okay?
No, they're not okay.
I could keep playing if you guys want a good laugh. It doesn't get better.
No.
I mean, but this is who the voters are that Graham Platners of the world want, and that the Obama wing knows will vote for them anyway, because vote blue no matter who, right? That's right. What you're going to have. That moron, even though she's in Australia, she could probably figure out a way to get a ballot sent to Seattle or California if she tried hard enough.
It's almost like this is a global thing, and this is a whole movement globally, internationally. It's almost like there's a plan. Weird.
Yeah, there is a plan. And hold on, let me keep going with this real quick, because I've got a couple more before we wrap this up and we move off into another segment.
You have to get to the Egypt coach though, because she brought up solidarity. We have to get.
All right, let's do that now, and then let's do the Egypt coach. Egypt coach now.
Coach. I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. One of the most embarrassing defeats happened on the pitch in the round of 16. Was it the round of 16? In the round of 16 between Argentina and Egypt. So somehow I missed the game. I was really mad at myself because I was working. I missed it.
It's a good game.
And so for those of you guys who weren't watching, Egypt was up 2-0, I think, with about 30 minutes left in the game. And no, it was less than that, 10 minutes. How long was it? Whatever, about 10 minutes.
Argentina scored their first goal in the 79th minute.
Got it. Okay. So there was about 10 minutes left in the game. They tied it up 2-2 and it had to go into extra time. And then Argentina came along and scored one of the biggest comebacks probably in World Cup history, ended up winning a game 3-2. And the coaching staff lost their ever-loving minds, lost their minds. And the video that Nom's going to play is a video of I think this is the head coach of the Egyptian national team standing on the pitch with a Palestinian flag. Because remember, it's all about solidarity. Play this real quick.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Now, what do we know about Egypt and Palestine?
We know that Egypt doesn't give a crap about Palestine.
Egypt hates Palestinians with a white-hot fury. They despise them so much so that this is currently the wall that exists between Palestine and Egypt. They hate them. However,
they'll make a Palestinian statement, but they ain't taking a single one of them into their country. Not one.
Not one of them, because they know exactly what they do to the places they get to.
That's right.
Right. And I'm not I'm not mincing my words on that. So, but that's actually the plan, right? So you've got the morons over there, the blue hairs in Australia. It's the same blue hairs you have here, who simply just don't know anything. But the people who do know things are these guys.
This is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan. Islam will be in every household. Inshallah, the whole world is Muslim. Welcome to Mamdani's New York. You see this city? You see how it looks? Inshallah, your city looks just like this too.
I don't know how that
Did
guy's.
he say New Yorkistan?
New Yorkistan. That's what he said. That's Sneeko, by the way.
Durkistan, y'all.
And Durkistan. So that's what's actually happening under the covers of all of this. And the real problem is the communists, the true, like the white, rich, white bread, champagne communists, the ones who are the intelligentsia of the DSA, the ones who've never actually worked in a single job in their entire lives, ever once. They've spent too much time in academia. They've been taught too many failed theories that never work in practice. They're absolute smooth brain people in the real world. They think that they're going to be able to help the common man, when in reality, all they're doing is they're teaming up with Sneeko down there, who will kill them at the first opportunity as soon as they get power. And I'm telling you, the Islamists are starting to believe that they have the numbers to start getting aggressive in the United States, and you're seeing it.
Yep.
We saw this in the UK starting about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
When they start blocking your streets to pray, because nowhere in Islamic countries do they take their rugs out into the middle of the street and pray in massive groups. They do it in Western cultures when they immigrate there and they invade those countries and they get to enough of population, it's intimidation. That's
right.
all it is.
That's right. Problem is,
they're at the intimidation phase.
Problem is, I don't think they realize that we're not intimidated by these people at all.
Not even a little.
Not even a little bit.
They need to save their Durka Aloha snack bar stuff for somewhere else, because it's not going to fly here.
It's not going to fly here.
So that's what you get from the unholy alliance between the Islamists and the intelligentsia, so-called, of the DSA. But in reality, from an economic standpoint, and PatriotDad, you're going to get into this next. This is your economic segment. This is what's actually happening in New York City. All the things that Mamdani says that he's doing, like, I swear to God, if someone tells me one more time that Mamdani found $12 billion in the budget so that he could close a $12 billion short hold. Actually, he didn't. He borrowed money from the state and he stole money from the city pension, like literally stole it to cover cover this debt. He didn't find money. He didn't tax. I saw so many people the last week. See what happens when you tax the rich. He's not implemented a single new tax, dumbasses, not one. But this is what happens when they start actually implementing their economic ideology
the
and their policy.
disastrous effects of this economic insanity. Google co-founder Sergey Brin, the world's third richest man, just took a staggering loss in the New York City's rent-stabilized real estate market, and it's a direct indictment of the policies of Mayor Mamdani that he's now doubling down on. So Brin's investment firm, which is Amphitheater LLC, they held a stake in a real estate fund managed by A&E Real Estate. They control nearly like 6,000 rent-stabilized apartments across the city. After Mamdani won election on a rent-freeze platform, Brin sold his stake back to A&E, accepting just 6 cents on the dollar of his original equity investment just to get out. His gross stake was valued at approximately $79 million, meaning that the loss was absolutely huge. But the problem is this isn't an isolated story. Since 2019, the total value of rent-stabilized apartment buildings in New York City has declined by an estimated $75 billion. It's a 34% collapse in per-unit sales prices, while non-regulated apartments rose 23% over the same period. The FDIC sold $15 billion in loans backed by rent-stabilized buildings at a 40% discount. Landlords across the city are now telling brokers they want to walk away from their buildings entirely. A&E spokesperson delivered the bottom line. He said something akin to institutional capital, both equity investors and lenders, are literally fleeing New York City's rent-stabilized apartment sector in droves. That's Mamdani's rent control in action, not a housing utopia, but a $75 billion capital flight that will leave buildings crumbling and tenants with nowhere left to go.
PatriotDad, what happens? What happens when this happens? When capital leaves New York City, what happens?
This is exactly what the communists want to happen.
Yes,
they want. SK, were you going to say something, or are you looking at the chat?
Before I forget, just real quick, did you guys hear about Texas opening like an instead of a Wall Street, it's a Y'all Street? I think yesterday is when it opened, and more awesome. Things are going to come out. I think like the end of the week, and then in the next few weeks, more are going to be rolling out. But how great is that?
Yep. I think you're gonna see Wall Street is probably gonna move out of Washington or out of New York City also. You're gonna see
Texas.
all of these financiers, the people who provide capital and liquidity to the markets, are leaving because they know what's coming for them. I actually think that Mamdani's ultimate goal is to get the capital out of the city so that he can rapidly assume ownership for his NGOs of those properties. But the problem is, for the tenants, it's going to be a disaster, an absolute disaster. Do you actually think New York City, who couldn't figure out how to plow snow or pick up poop during a snowstorm, is going to be able to effectively manage and maintain hundreds of billions of dollars worth of real estate?
First of all, no. Where are they going to get the money to do it? They're going to have to pay the contractors, the unions. Where's the money going to come from? Because the capital's gone.
Well, they're going to take the money out of the properties is what they're going to do. They're going to assume ownership, and they're going to find some lender who's going to be willing to give them what little equity is left in the property. It's going to be lent to these NGOs, and the NGOs are going to be holding these properties. They're going to have liquidity in the properties, and they're going to use that to fund the 20% increases in their pay that they're now advocating for.
No lender's going to do that because equity assumes that they don't lose value, and they're going to continue to lose value. You may be able to get one loan out of it, but when the property values continue to drop on these rent-controlled things, you can't get an appraisal. You're going to be underwater with your lender. you're never going to be able to suck another dime out of another lender. So where's it going to come from?
Not if you control the means of production, because you also own the appraiser.
What? No. No.
Look, you are approaching this, and folks, this is what we're going to have to.
Because this is the real world, right? Money does not grow on freaking trees.
I understand that. Give me just a second to lay this out for you, okay? This is the problem that we are going to have to figure out how to effectively communicate, and the audience is going to have to figure out how to grasp. We are dealing with people who live in an academic world where they think there are no consequences for their actions. They truly believe that if they can assume ownership of billions of dollars worth of real estate, they will have immediate and ongoing access to the liquidity that is currently in the real estate. What they don't ever do is say
what
then
next?
What?
Yes.
Then
what happens now? What happens when I destroy the value of these properties purely by my ideology, my actions, and by them becoming dilapidated because no one can keep them up? This is the then what that they never actually do. This is crazy. This is insane.
But see, here's the problem. The utopian concept of never-ending liquidity in property that is now owned by the people, because they're going to say that you own this, you own it, even though it actually is owned by the NGOs and some cooperatives that are run entirely by the city government. They're going to tell the tenants, no, these are your properties. You guys make up the government. And they have people convinced that there's a never-ending flow of liquidity coming out of those properties that will then be used to maintain them and improve their quality of life. But none of them ever stop to ask the question, then what? What happens if the things that you're telling me aren't true?
They're creating ghettos is what they're doing. They're intentionally creating ghettos. I mean, you're going to see the ghettos in Baltimore and Philadelphia, which are limited to small parts of those cities. Going to basically be all of New York City except for the non-rent controlled, but they're going to try to continue to grow the footprint of the non-rent controlled by destroying by sucking the taxes out of the rich until they can't afford to live there. Those properties, we already told you, if those are going to go up 30% just from this, then they're going to go up another 50. These things are already in the millions and millions of dollars to buy one of these non-rent control places. This is pure insanity, guys. Math is always math. It doesn't change. I don't care. I know we've seen a bunch of CRT, critical race theory nonsense bullshit that says 2 + 2 can equal 5. Bullshit. It can't. This is just a capital. It's like water. It will always flow the path of least resistance. It does not want to dilute itself.
That's right.
It won't dilute itself. Okay.
I'll say it a little bit differently. It wants to be used in the most efficient, most profitable means possible. That's what capital's. It's almost like there's a natural law in the deployment of capital. It's always going to look for the most efficient way possible to be used. Maybe not in the very near term, in the short term, but in the long term, it will always go the path of least resistance to be deployed in the most efficient, profitable way. It's that simple.
By the way, folks, we have over 100 years, and I do mean over 100 years at this point, moron down in Australia. We have 100 years of examples of why this and how this doesn't work.
That's right.
We do not have a single example of where it does work. Not one.
Well, and the problem for them is even the examples they try to convince you are examples of their system working are not actually examples of their system working. Like in Scandinavian countries, those are not communist or socialist countries. Those are capitalist countries that have made decisions electorally to have a large public safety net, but it's all funded through capitalism. And as a matter of fact, because they can't afford their safety net anymore, they are moving further and further away from the large public safety nets.
But more importantly, do you know what they also have that we don't have?
They have a very homogenous population.
Right. They are almost all the exact same race and the exact same culture, and they've been the same culture for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years.
That's right.
So they were able to agree as a homogenous culture this is what we want to do. And then when you start bringing in multiculturalism, who initially sucks the life out of your social safety net, your welfare programs, which is why they are running as fast as they can from this economic model that they've been operating under, because it's failing, because you broke the homogenous nature of that pact that they had.
That's exactly right. I'm going to pull up, Nom, if you don't mind. I'm going to, because that was actually a really good segue into the next topic that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, do we have any?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
We
go
do.
through
We
those.
had,
I'm going to get this stuff set up for us here.
We do. We had a couple come in. Folks, we're intentionally trying to not interrupt our segments for a little bit and just to kind of keep them flowing. So we had here, Colton W1, SK is working hard today. SK's been working super hard. She's been on more podcasts than I think in a week or 2 weeks than I think she's been on in an entire year. We've got Kelly Hawks, became a YouTube member as well. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. I think we had another one. If I'm not
there's one more. Four strike.
499. The four strike. Liberals have adopted the mindset that if a system like democracy got a person like Donald Trump elected 3 times, then screw democracy.
That's right. That's exactly right. I mean, so he's referring to Rush Limbaugh's comment about Democrats have no use for elections anymore.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Comment. If democracy, or if free and fair elections can elect Donald Trump, then they have no use for them anymore.
Yep.
Because they want authoritarian, totalitarian control.
Right.
Can I have? Oh, sorry.
Go. Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing really quick. I wanted to say happy 13th birthday to my son. And also thank you for being so amazing and understanding with me having been on all of these podcasts and not exactly available on his birthday. He's been super understanding and very encouraging. When I said, I don't know what to do, I was asked to host this podcast and it's your birthday. And, we were going to go to dinner. He was like, you better say you can do it. We can go to dinner another day. So I just want to say happy birthday and thanks for being so awesome.
Yep. So Sally, we're trying something new out. So we were finding, in fact, the back office guys, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they basically sent 58 of our last episodes through an AI system. And it analyzed a lot of things, and we got a ton of great feedback from it. One of them was the lot of flow in people making points gets interrupted by us stopping for super chats and comments, and then they're never able to get back sort of in their stride. So I think right now we're going to try to at least at the end of a segment where there's a natural sort of pause before you go into something a little bit different, we'll try to read them out. That's why.
That's right. That's right. All right. So Nom kind of teed this up perfectly for me as we were talking about the impact of communist ideas and policies on the housing market, particularly in New York City. But what was really interesting is the timing of this cultural argument is not a surprise. It is not, it should not be viewed as though it is like accidentally coming up. They are the people who are attacking our cultural hegemony are intentionally trying to convince you that the systems that are in place and the systems that the Trump team are building, the American system of political economy, don't work. And they're doing it by flat out lying to you. So I think Nom sent this to me earlier today. This is a post on X from a guy named Chris Crone, who, and I went through his account, seemed like, most of his content is real estate based. It is largely, focused on the financial industry. Doesn't seem to have much of a political perspective at all. But when I saw this, it immediately caused me to pause, because what you're reading right here is straight up theory of cultural hegemony attack, trying to convince you that the systems that are in place that we're building right now are the reason why people are suffering under an unaffordability crisis. So this post says required hourly pay to afford a house, and it goes from 1970 all the way up to 2026. And you can see in this graphic that in 1970, the hourly rate that somebody needed to earn in order to afford a home was $3.60 an hour. If you go to 2010, it was $22.45 an hour. If you go to 2026, according to this post, it's $61.85 per hour is required in order to be able to afford a home in today's economy. And then he goes on and says the thing that is designed to attack the hegemony, hegemony. This is specifically designed to attack the systems that the Trump team are building, and honestly, that have allowed this country to grow to what it is. He says, inflation has destroyed the value of the dollar, making it extremely difficult for millennials and Gen Z to buy homes. Now, I know that if you listen to any major media, if you spend any time on social media, then you have become conditioned to believe that inflation is the reason for the affordability crisis. The problem is that's not true.
It's a byproduct of what? Inflation is a byproduct of policy.
It's not true. And here's why. We as a society have been conditioned to use the term inflation incorrectly. Inflation is defined as a broad, across the entire economy, change in price across everything. It is a gauge of the amount of money chasing items. Okay? So if you want to talk about a specific industry seeing unusual surges in prices, that is not an inflation discussion. It is a discussion about disruptions to the pricing system of that particular industry. So there's two critical things that have happened since 1970 that have created this environment where home prices are outpacing the cost of, or the price of labor or wages, because ultimately that's what this post is trying to articulate very inefficiently and honestly, I think in a way that's designed to propagandize the topic. What it's trying to say is that because of inflation or because of monetary policy, people today cannot afford houses like they used to be able to afford houses back then. And what's fascinating to me is that this is the exact argument that is being made by the Democratic Socialists. They are arguing that in order for us to be able to provide affordability to people, you have to take the means of production away from the producers and you have to put it in the hands of a ruling elite, a group of people who they think are better equipped and smarter than everybody else that can deploy that capital on society's behalf, which is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. It's stupid. But what makes this worse is that none of them seem to recognize what's actually causing the massive increase in the price of housing compared to the price of labor or wages. And I know that because they are advocating the exact policies that cause this problem. So I decided to do a little bit of analysis on this. And I'm going to pull up a couple graphs for you. Oh, you already got them up. Okay. I decided to do a little bit of analysis on this. And what I did is I went and I started looking at the increase in labor cost over the same time period, because I wanted to understand what's the relationship between household incomes and the price of a home. Okay. The reason I wanted to do that is to demonstrate to you that this is not an inflationary problem. Because if this was a true inflation problem, all things held constant except for the rise in home cost and the rise in incomes, you would see a parallel line, a one-to-one relationship of both of those moving at the same clip, in the same direction, at the same delta. Because remember, true inflation is the total rise in the cost of not only the price of a home, but also the price of labor. If the price of a home goes up 1% because of inflation, then the cost of labor goes up 1% because of inflation. Meaning, you cannot make the argument that inflation is the thing that's making things unaffordable, because relatively, you would be making the same amount of money relative to the cost of buying a home if inflation was the only driver. So there has to be something else that's causing this massive growing delta between affordability of homes and the incomes that you're making. And wouldn't you know, there is. Actually, there's a lot. There's several things. You've got to include things like interest rate changes and the fact that 1970s brought in the Bretton Woods Agreement, where we moved from the gold standard to a fiat currency. But the biggest thing, and we've talked about this 100 times, around 1970 is when you really started to see the internationalist agenda of changing the United States from a country of producers to a country of consumers. That's the point at which we convinced our wives that they had to go to work in order to bring more income into the house. We had to live on 2 incomes to survive. That's the time frame at which the Federal Reserve started pumping money into the economy, flooding the money supply. That's also the time when you started to see massive immigration into the country. So if you pull that back up, Nom, what you see here is a graph that represents 3 things. The blue line at the top is the median home price from 1970 to 2026. Do you see that? That is a massive surge, a nearly 17 to 18x increase in the rise of the price of a home over that period of time. The green line is the rise of household incomes. Does that make sense? Now remember, if this were truly an inflationary problem, you would see that green line increasing similarly in the same upward and to the right direction that you see the blue line. But because they have been disconnected from one another because of other inputs, household incomes have largely remained flat. And what was that other income or input? Immigration. So I did some analysis on immigration, cumulative immigration numbers over that same time period. And what we found was that, let's see if I can find the exact numbers here. Bear with me a second. Basically, what we found is that for about 100 years, there was virtually no legal or illegal immigration in the United States. And then somewhere around 1970, we really started to open the floodgates up. And what you saw is that, and I looked at both legal and illegal immigration because both of them actually create more demand by adding more people to the housing market. And they weren't increasing supply of homes, they were just dumping more people in here. So the total US population of, let's do this backwards. Let's call it the foreign-born population, which is the total immigrant, legal plus illegal. In 1970, there was 9.6 million foreign-born people in the country. By 2000, there was 31.1 million. By 2020, there was 44.5 million. And by 2025, 2026, we're sitting at 50 to 53 million foreign-born people in the country. So all throughout the 2024 campaign, we kept saying over and over and over again, the cause of the increase in the price of everything, the inflation, if you will, that we were experiencing was because of the immigration crisis. It's because we were flooding people into the country, allowing them to compete with Americans, and in many cases, subsidizing their housing payments. We were giving them money to live, is the exact reason why you are seeing housing prices go through the roof, but incomes are not growing near that rate because illegal immigration has a 2-part effect. It creates more demand for housing, less demand for labor. It suppresses the value of your productivity. because people are coming into the country willing to do the same job for less money. But they're not willing to live differently. So they come in and they suck off the American taxpayer, they get subsidized in a large way, and they drive the price of a home up. So this next chart here is fascinating to me. So we're going to pull this up here. What you see is what should be the relationship. This should be the relationship between labor and home prices. But what happens when you inject illegal immigration into it? I want to pull this up on my end so I can see this a little bit better. What happens when you inject immigration into it is it changes the curves or the trajectory of these two items. So you've got the dark blue line is the hypothetical nominal home price. This is what you would expect hypothetically in an inflationary environment. You would expect home prices to increase over that period of time pretty nominally. The dark green line is you would expect your labor or your household income to increase at a faster rate because you're becoming more productive, you're becoming more experienced, you're becoming more valuable. So in a normal world without the influence of illegal immigration, you should actually see your incomes rising significantly faster than what the cost of a home should be. But when you inject an artificial demand element and an artificial supply element to labor, it flips the script of these relationships. So instead of your labor increasing at a faster pace than housing, now housing is increasing at a faster pace than your labor or your household incomes. The dotted line is the result of the same policies that the communist, the socialist, the Democrats, and in many cases, many of the losertarians have been demanding for a long time. The dark lines are the way the economy should function under an American type system that values national productivity. Does this make sense, folks? I know this is pretty wonky. Nom, SK, does this make sense? Does this help kind of illustrate the conundrum that the communists are going to have and that we're going to have to try to articulate for people, is to help people understand that the exact policies that these guys are proposing are, in fact, the cause of the problem they think they're trying to solve. So what's the solution? That's a really good question.
Well, let me first try to answer the question you asked. Does it make sense? I mean, it does make sense to me, but how do you then account for how do you account for the rocket and feather effect of rising oil, where essentially everything downstream from that, so supply chain type items, the things that are actually inputs into the products that we make. You can go back to Milton Friedman's explanation of how the pencil is made and how all those things, those costs work. But if one or two of the items that go into the pencil become more expensive because they're less valuable, generally what would happen is they go and they find a cheaper material to make it. But in other certain situations, like oil, like gas, where you need diesel, you need fuel to move things around the country, around the globe, because we're now a global economy. So when that spikes artificially, like we know in a lot of cases it does, that will necessarily cause everything downstream to become more expensive, which means it's going to be more expensive for the consumer. It's going to be more expensive for the producers, everything. How does that fit into that sort of that arithmetic?
Number one, that's not inflation. Okay, that is a pricing mechanism due to changing price of an input, and it flows to the output. But in order for that to be considered technically inflation, then that increase in the oil price is going to have a one-to-one relationship to the increase of everything. And we know that's not true. We know that $1 increase in a barrel of oil does not necessarily translate into $1 increase in the cost of medical supplies.
I don't think it would. I mean, it would be fractional, actually.
Right. It would be fractional because it's not an inflationary. It may have an inflationary effect, but it's not inflation. Okay. And I know I know it sounds like we are making it a little bit too complex. The reason why it's important to be specific on the definitions is because if you cloak all of this in inflation, it is very easy to ignore what the actual cause of these increases in prices are.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, when you add more demand to anything, like, 30 million illegals and however many more legal residents, foreign-born people, to everything, then it's, that's just simple, basic laws of supply and demand. I don't think we need to batter this around any longer. The solution, from my perspective, is the American system, specifically to the housing problem, right? And
that's right.
The incomes and housing is rule number one, like President Trump started when he floated down the escalator, because he saw this, right? He started trying to educate us on what the real problem is across the board. And he focused a lot of time on crime and all of those things, because that's a real in-your-face problem. But the affordability problem that the communists are keying in on right now are based almost solely in the mass influx, the invasion of foreigners. You have to stop that, and you have to keep it stopped. And you can't stop it for 4 years and then start it back up on steroids for 4 years and then try to stop it, because you're never, like we're saying, you're going to get 30 or 20 million people in here, and you may get 5 million of them out, right? And then you do it again, and you do it again.
That's right.
That's my opinion.
I think the key, and SK, I want to turn it over to you in a second. Any thoughts that you have? The key here for us to think through, though, or remember, is that these people are not stupid. They know, the people at the top who are designing these systems, these communist systems, they know damn well what the impact of their policies is going to do. They know it. The voters may not, but they know damn well that in order for them to be able to come in and implement everything they want to implement, they have to collapse the systems that exist now. They have to collapse the housing market. They have to collapse the healthcare market. They have to collapse the judicial system. They have to collapse the education system. They have to attack the entire cultural hegemony of the United States and of Western society. They know what they're doing.
And they're not, listen, they're not playing. I had this up for my first segment.
You can pay $3,950 if you want to have birth naturally, make your child a U.S. citizen.
Are you kidding?
Your foreign board C-section, $5,525. I spoke with Ken Paxton on this, and he showed me pictures where there are houses in Texas that look residential. So it could be your neighbor's house, and you go inside the house, and there are rows of bassinets where Chinese women are coming, giving birth to a child, then going back to the Chinese Communist Party, educating their child there, and they have.
I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm going to go back. Read this billboard back here in this. So these billboards started popping up all over the southern border on the Mexico side and on the American side. Read this. HaveMyBabyInTexas.com. So as an immediate result, folks, as an immediate result of the Supreme Court ruling that said that birthright citizenship is a constitutional right, as an immediate result, the same people who are complaining and crying about the affordability crisis are putting up the billboards, it's probably that way, are putting up the billboards to continue the invasion of this country to make the problem worse.
And what did Trump say in this post? Is this the one where he says he's going to
read it.
Yep. He says that he said signs and billboards are being put up all over our southern border in Mexico advertising birthright citizenship with deliveries starting at $4,000. Likewise, similar signs going up all over our country. Billions of dollars will be illegally made by this scam, with citizenship going to anyone willing to pay. It will be by far the number one way of becoming a citizen, and then the entire family will be allowed to follow. Not sustainable. Nobody saw this coming. American citizenship is not for sale. In fact, that is a crime, and therefore the Supreme Court's ruling is wrong. I will be asking for a rehearing by the United States Supreme Court immediately.
Yeah.
This miscarriage of justice will destroy America if they don't change their absolutely insane decision. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
That's right. That's right. So, Nom, you asked a question.
To get a rehearing? Is it possible to get a rehearing on something?
Yeah,
like
they
that?
have like 25 days, I think. But I think I sent you guys a post from the SCOTUS Wire, and I didn't have time to look too much into it because I only had a short amount of time before the podcast started. But I do believe one of the majority justices has to agree to rehear it before it can be reheard. It can't be a dissenting justice. It has to be one of the justices that concurred.
Yeah, good luck with that, because we know John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett are both internationalists who are in on the scam. They're part of it, folks. They're part of it. I was gonna take us another direction, but we're close to wrapping time. Nom, SK, is there anything else that you guys want to pull in before we close?
My brain is buffering. I'm
so I guess there was the one last thing. So President Trump is essentially done with where is it? Hold on.
I put a video in here. Maybe we just kind of show this, because I think the way I started this topic was basically saying that Donald Trump apparently doesn't realize that 4th of July was on Saturday, because there are still fireworks going on in Iran. He's pissed. He's done with them. He's done messing with these idiots. And he basically spent the entire day blowing up Iran. And then he posted a whole bunch of content all over his True Social account. Did you guys see? Did anyone go to his True Social account today? You got to see this.
No.
So, Nom, there's I think it's called Fireworks, Iran Fireworks. We need to pull that up. Let's pull that up and play it. It's like a minute and a half long. This was me. Yeah, Trump, Iran Fireworks. This is me. It's a video. This is me scrolling through Donald Trump's True Social account today as I was watching him lose his mind publicly and effectively saying, I'm done with them. They're crazy. They're lunatics. Here it comes. So there's probably no audio with this, so we can just play it.
We'll just go big and you kind of talk through it.
Yeah, we'll just talk through it. So good. Is it playing? All right, so here we go. So this is just a bunch of videos and photographs that Donald Trump posted. It's like he was just like sitting in the Oval Office in the Resolute desk, just like showing everybody, here's what we were doing today. We were blowing stuff up. We were sending rockets into Iran. We were taking out, I think, hits like 60 some targets, I believe, going directly after the IRGC. I think they even went after some of their outer space technology or whatever, some centers that they have built there. Look at this. The whole country's on fire again.
Yeah,
they're just
done. I mean, he's done. So I found that video. So Trump is done. Just listen.
Done. Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
You know, but what's funny is almost right after that, before we went live, now he's saying or announcing that the Iranian regime has reached out to him and desperately wants to make another deal.
Well, see, but he's right. I mean, yeah, they'll make a deal. Listen, we all know what they're trying to do. Yep. They are trying to drag this out. They every single time they do this, they lose a little bit more control over the Straits of Hormuz. So what caused all of this, frankly, was in that MOU, they were to have no control over the shipping lanes at all, right? But they were trying to force some ships to come up closer in the Straits of Hormuz to them. They were charging them a fee to get through, and that violated the MOU. And then there are others that were going down in the Oman route, and they started literally firing on them for going the route that Iran did not approve, and Iran approving a route was a violation of the MOU. So they just violated the MOU and then started shooting. I mean, you can't trust them. But every single time they do this, every time he blows them up more and more, they lose more and more control to the point they're going to have nothing left.
Well, they've already lost control. So one of the things I've been paying close attention to is the price of oil, because we've talked about this over and over again, and we're going to wrap with this. The mechanism that the internationalists have always used is their terror premium. Their terror premium has been the tool to get the American people to bend to the will of the internationalists. So I've been paying close attention to see what oil is doing through all of this, because historically what happens when Iran starts taking shots at cargo ships, you see oil spike through the roof, go up $100, $110, $118, but that's not happening anymore. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The reason for that is because they don't own the financial mechanism anymore that's building the terror premium into their pricing model. They don't own it. So throughout all of this, and Donald Trump is sitting there in total confidence, because the one thing that they had the ability to affect the American population with was the price of oil. Yeah. And they just watched their attempts to control the Straits of Hormuz fail when the price of oil barely budged.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating stuff, folks. All right, we're going to wrap up. Let me get our extra video.
Just a reminder, you guys want to make sure you're here on Friday. You want to be here on time. Jake and Garding are going to be taking over the show from start to finish. We won't even be here. We'll probably set up the destinations, and I'll probably listen in the car on the way down to the Southern Command, maybe troll the comments a little bit if my wife will let me text and drive, although I doubt she will. So you want to be here, because what they're getting ready to show you is going to set the foundation, set the stage for where we're going over the next 2.5, 3 months. And I'm excited about this agenda. I'm excited about the outlines that have been built. I'm excited about the content, because it's really, really important. And I don't think anybody else is doing this. So it'll be really fun to see how this plays out. So be here Friday.
I think the closest we've seen or will see to trying to weave this story together is what Glenn Beck's been able to do over the last, 20 years. So
yeah,
it'll be pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah. But also make sure if you're watching the replay, you type a comment, hit the like button, make sure you X out the chat in here real quick, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you post the link to the stream everywhere. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, put your DNA all over the screen on all the buttons.
Hey, can we be more specific about putting your DNA all over the screen, please?
No.
Nope.
No.
Because I don't. Okay.
No. Right. Just we're out. See you.
All right,
bye,
we're
guys.
out. Later, guys.
Good night, guys.
Trading sacred liberties for power, gold, and twisted dreams. From the broken borders to the fields our forefathers tilled. The enemy is prowling, truth is silenced on or killed. But I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and Old Glory as my core. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriot. shadows. Truth and justice we